I try to do the same thing with my nieces, they're done with me, they just say, never mind, don't need you. And so you can ignore them, you can say, well, we don't need you. But then you're losing out on a large number of very, very bright people. So again, this is another thing that CEOs are telling us is a learning priority. So in this summit, you're going to hear from top management and top HR professionals. And these are the top leaders in the field. And this is your opportunity to learn about the current thinking on HR, human resources, both in Pakistan and globally. And it's incumbent upon each of you, as the human resource leaders in this country, to ensure that this information is widely disseminated in your company. Because at times like this, Pakistan needs to maximize every resource that it has, and you must help make sure that it maximizes its most important resource, its people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Now, one of the subjects that really interests me at times is the micromanagement. A lot of the managers spend a lot of time thinking, okay, what's exactly in their domain and what is it that they must delegate? Delegation is an area that we as Pakistanis are not really too proud of. Either we'd like to be micromanagers ourselves, or even if we delegate, we're giving away people the responsibility and the accountability without giving them the authority to make decisions. Now that's a key balance that we need to strike, and I think there's several other issues that when it comes to us as Pakistanis, if we are to become better managers, we will become better managers not only in our working capacity, but also in our home environments. And therefore, we will be contributing more effectively to the social fabric. When we talk about building Pakistan, I'm sure a lot of you are looking forward to the special delight we have in this particular lineup today. You're aware that the cricketing living legend and the chairman of Tehreek-e-Insaf, Mr. Imran Khan, will be addressing this conference today at 2 o'clock. The subject he's picked is really interesting. It's about the management challenges for building Pakistan in challenging times. I think the times indeed are changing, and that we are reminded of from all quarters, day in and day out, with every news beat. And to quote my dear friend Asfar, he says, in Pakistan we do have an intellectual vacuum. Our ruling classes have no capacity to understand the nature of our crisis, nor do they understand the dynamics of social change. So today, the greater challenge that we present to the delegates and the participants of this summit is not only to see yourselves as managers in the working capacity, but also apply the same rules of management in your own lives, in your personal lives, and enrich Pakistan, build Pakistan. There are other countries who've done this very successfully. Their experts have contributed and have planned the macro picture. And one such individual is with us today. He is indeed the advisor to the top offices in Bahrain. Also, he is the founder of the Bahrain Society for Training and Development. He is the president-elect of FTDO. And the topic that he's chosen is very interesting. Leadership styles and the effect on corporate culture. The way we do business defines our life. Therefore, your corporate culture reflects very strongly on how we perform as a nation. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the conference chairman of the second Lahore Management and HRD Summit, His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Khalifa Al-Dosari.
السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Good morning, everybody. In fact, I noticed, if you guys are falling into sleep, and usually I take things in a very positive way. When people fall into sleep while the speaker is speaking, there are, two things, goes into my mind. Number one, the voice of the speaker is so soft and so relaxing, and the subject is so interesting. That's why, people go into sleep. I will request my brothers and sisters, if you will be kind enough, just to stand up for a minute and give a strong shake hand to your neighbor on your left. Okay, a strong shake hand so you can feel the vibration. A strong shake hand, a very strong shake hand so you feel the vibration and you take the energy from your colleague. Thank you. Thank you. Well, we're talking about something a bit different. We'll be talking about the toxic leader. And before we move into the toxic leaders topic, which is a topic of today, which is a topic that we certainly need to address and to focus nowadays. We all suffering from toxic leadership in our organization and precisely in our region. And I think it's about time, we do studies about toxic leaders. But before we do that, let's take a glance into the leadership in general. I define leadership as the power of getting things done effectively and efficiently by maximizing the potential of the others to make the extraordinary happen. I think the slide needs to be adjusted. Excuse me, monitor. Excuse me, technicians. You need to adjust the screen in here. Yeah, few words are missing. Well, usually leadership, everybody's talking about leadership. It is the most studied social science, let's put it this way. But unfortunately, it is the most understood social science. Everybody's talking about leadership. You all can recall since day one, when you went to the universities or in the college or in the school, everybody's talking about leadership. There are millions of books being published about leadership. But interesting, until this moment, there's still people exploring and talking about leadership because it is the most complicated social science we ever had. It's a leadership. You can compare leadership as an opera, and the leader himself is the maestro. Can you imagine? The maestro, he have that opera, he have the players, he have musicians, he have the stars, of course, he have people behind the scene, and he have the technicians. So he have to treat each one of those guys differently. And this is the beauty of leadership. It is something that really very complicated, but it's very interesting. Once you have the keys and to find the fine-tuning, it will make a big difference. Usually, there are some myths about leadership that we always talk about it or we think about it, and everybody's talking about it. The knowledge myth. They are not the first people in the crowd. Let me remind you of the example of Sir Edward Hillary. Sir Edward Hillary, back in 1953, he was the first person to reach the Mountain Everest. So naturally, we think that he is the leader because he was the first person who reached the Mountain Everest. But then in 1958, he was a member of the team to go to the South Pole. Again, being the first person in the crowd will not make you a leader. We're always mistaken by saying, the Bilson make a leader. Bilson will never make a leader. The leader that make the Bilson. A leader can lose the title, but will never lose his leadership. For example, we have the case of Maurice Saatchi. Maurice Saatchi is a famous businessman. In 1994, he was the chief executive officer of a company called Corridian. And the company had due to some political reason, they merged between BA and Mars, and they made a company, and they said, well, we have our own chief executive. So, Mr. Maurice Saatchi, thank you very much. So he left them back in 1994. The minute he left the company, the value of the shares dropped from $8 to $4 within 1 day. And Saatchi, because he's a leader, he's a natural leader, when he left the company, all the talented subordinates, they joined him. And he made the famous company called Saatchi and Saatchi. I'm sure you are familiar with this company, Saatchi and Saatchi. So, titles does not make leaders. Leaders make titles. You have a case, for example, your former president, whether I'm with him or against him, whether I like him or I don't like him, it's a different issue. But he left as a president, but he's still a leader. Wherever he is, he's a leader. So there's a leadership. You have others, like for example, you have President Musharraf, you have President Nawaz Sharif, former President. They are leaders. Wherever they are, whether they are in the position or they are out of the positions, they are leaders. The world is changing. Definitely in that case, leadership is changing. You cannot lead today's workforce with yesterday's mentality. It's about time that we need to change. Now, let's think about leadership in a different way.